have work to accomplish and little time to do it. Let us make today the day all leaders from each part of Oregon, from every party, the day we decide we came together as a community to do all that we can while we still can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Miko Vergun. She is honored as a Youth in Action for work on behalf of the Marshallese community. Spent her 16th birthday giving a speech in Washington, D.C. and marching for climate justice together with her fellow Youth vs. Gov plaintiffs in the case Juliana versus U.S. to bring attention to the desire of youth and everyone to have a safe climate.
Hi, I'm Miko, as you said already. I'm 18 and I'm not 18 yet. I'm 17. But I'm a senior in high school, and I think that this is like one of the biggest issues of my time, at least, because we the youth are like the ones who are going to have to take care of this issue when everyone's gone, which is a huge part of why I'm in the lawsuit, Juliana v. US. And recently, if you know, we which filed the motion to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to stop any further fossil fuel projects in the meantime while we wait for a date for our trial, since it's been delayed for at least 3 times by the Trump administration. And we filed a youth amicus brief, and I don't know how many signatures we have, but I'm really proud of the youth that signed it, because it's a huge representation of all the youth around the world who are not going to put up with the adults who are supposed to be making the decisions for our futures. Last time I heard, we had like more than 30,000 signatures by youth who are 25 years old and under. So I'm really proud for everyone that signed it. Basically, as it was already said, I'm from the Marshall Islands, which is one of the countries at the forefront of climate change, as it is going underwater currently. And it's in so much danger of going underwater that there's been scientists saying that the Marshallese people are going to have to think of like artificial islands. So it's a huge issue for us, and we're just trying to fight for not only the survival of our people and our culture, but also just to keep our islands from going underwater, because our islands are a tie to our ancestors. So without the land, that's a huge part of our culture. And I just want to thank everyone for coming out today in support of this whole movement. It just shows that not only youth are leading this movement, but also we have adults who have our backs, and it's just a good feeling. I remember going to one of the first hearings that we had in Eugene for our lawsuit, and we just heard we heard voices, and it was just like a huge crowd of students chanting for climate action, and that's more of what we want to hear and see. So thank you for everyone for coming out, and just for your overall support. So thank you.
That's a pretty significant example of how climate change is happening now, and not just in 12 years. It's already affecting us, and it has a detrimental effect. Our next speaker is Isaac Vergun, a 16-year-old climate activist who got his start the day he asked Bill McKibben, "Do you think that an 11-year-old like me with a supportive family could get a local city like Beaverton, Oregon to join your divestment campaign?" Since that day, he's become a climate justice ambassador and a climate reality leader, become a plaintiff on the federal climate change lawsuit Juliana versus the U.S., and served as president of the Global Children's Board for Plant for the Planet.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming out here today. There was one thing that I really wanted to hit on as part of my speech and everything that I was just thinking about right now, and that is the fact that, as my sister already said, that youth are going to be the ones who are affected. Youth are going to be the ones who are going to be taking over. Youth are going to be the ones that are going to be the future leaders, and that we have to nurture our youth to be able to take these positions and these leadership roles, like what youth out here have already been doing. And not only that, it's a fact that we are presenting the facts to youth, and youth are becoming self-aware about what's going on around them due to many different factors. Many youth I've seen have become more outraged, more youth have become more active, more youth have been more willing to make sacrifices, knowing that the future isn't in their favor, and that knowing that they have to take the reins and take control in this action. And that's why I joined the Kelsey Juliana lawsuit. That's why part of the reason my sister joined, and one of the reasons many of the plaintiffs joined as well. And on top of that, I appreciate the adults in our communities who have been nurturing us, have been not telling us what to do exactly, but presenting the facts and seeing what we're going to do with it. And youth have already been making such a great impact. Maybe you guys know Jamie Margolin, who's also a Plant for the Planet ambassador. She's founder of Zero Hour, a nonprofit organization focused around youth empowerment and the climate movement. And she is a great example of what it looks like to have a nurtured youth supported by adults and have other youth backing her up. And that is kind of what keeps me going a lot of the times. Like, a lot of the times for our lawsuit, we've been set back several times. We had our trial date taken away no more than a week before the actual trial date set back in October, and we still don't have a date set already. But one of the things that keeps me going, one of the things that keeps me more motivated to keep on going, is the fact that I know there's so many other youth out there who are in support of what the case is doing, in support of what each other is doing, in support of this whole entire movement. And even though the youth are going to be the ones who are next up and everything, we have to acknowledge the fact that the adults are also held accountable and also need to do something. And that is why I see youth going up to their parents, asking them what they can do. I see, like, just this past week, I had a whole bunch of my high schoolers out at Westview High School in Beaverton asking what they can do, because they finally found someone who is passionate or equally passionate about the climate as they are. And I've been asking them to repost and everything, like our interviews, repost the joinjuliana.org website for the youth amicus brief that we just filed yesterday. And it's just the overwhelming support that youth have given us, and that the overwhelming power youth have finally acknowledged and are unlocking. It's just something that is just so overwhelmingly exciting, and I'm really hopeful and excited to see what's going to come after that. That's kind of the whole reason that I'm here and everything. And so, yeah, thank you everyone for coming out.
It's just such a great honor to have just incredible speakers, ones you've already heard and ones you're going to hear in a moment. Just an incredible lineup of really inspirational people. Next up is Claire Matthews Lingen. She is a student at Willamette and a fellow with Our Climate.
Hello everyone. I'm a little bit under the weather, so sorry if I sound a bit plugged up. But it's amazing to see you all here today. Thank you for having me. As Claire mentioned, I'm a student at Willamette. I'm a sophomore there, and I'm a fellow with Our Climate. Our Climate is a nonprofit focused on mobilizing the generations most impacted by climate change to advocate for a science-based, equitable price on pollution. So, as you can imagine, that means we're really excited about House Bill 2020, the Clean Energy Jobs Bill. So I want to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about my own background coming into why I'm here today. So my commitment to the climate movement is rooted deep within me and has been strengthened by key moments throughout my life. I'm from Minnesota, that's where I grew up. And there, my mom's homeschooled me and my sister, and throughout my childhood, we were always enrolled in nature classes. Environmental learning was deeply integrated into my education, and the Mississippi River by my house has really been a safe haven for me. One of my first memories of kind of understanding the effect that people have on the environment was going down there and picking up trash with my family and noticing the gross pollution of the river. And watching that people are willing to harm our planet in those ways without a care. This behavior persists at the larger scale when we see that fossil fuel companies are not checked for the level of emissions that they put into our atmosphere. So that's kind of what it has turned into for me, is wanting to address that issue more broadly. Excuse me. Climate change is not just an issue facing far-off lands. I mean, we've already heard the testimony from students so far today saying, talking about the impacts that we're seeing now. It's all around us. Since moving to Oregon, I've seen the extreme droughts, the effects of forest fires, and irregular temperatures. Out of any state in the U.S., Minnesota has the fastest warming winters. So coming from that extreme to out here, I've really seen a big range of different impacts on our world. Clean water, a healthy environment, and a secure, climate-resilient future are not partisan issues. So I really work on advocating for political change on all levels. Today I'm here supporting the Clean Energy Jobs Bill that I mentioned earlier because we need this new forward-thinking legislation. It also needs to be stronger in order to ensure that it addresses all of the things that need to be addressed on our short timeline that we have left. Environmental justice must be at the root of our actions. Low-income communities of color are disproportionately affected by emissions and climate change impacts, and we must lift up the idea that everyone, including future generations, deserves access to a healthy environment and good-paying jobs in the clean energy sector. We need new forward-thinking legislation in order to secure that just, resilient climate future. And that's really where we all come in and advocating, advocating with our representatives, lobbying them, giving them phone calls, everything like that. The lawsuit is another amazing example of that type of work. But I believe if we're going to be climate leaders in the country, if Oregon's going to come out with this policy, we need to do it right. That's why I'm asking for a few changes to it. And there's a list of amendments that people are advocating for, but as action items tied to this event, calling your representatives, having meetings with them, really pushing for these amendments so that they can hear that people want more for our future as opposed to just what the fossil fuel companies are advocating for to weaken the bill. So in the bill, there must be a specific percentage of investments put into impacted communities. There's a plan for this, but it's not so far very transparent, and it's not very well written out. So there's of course a risk that that won't actually happen with the money that the revenue they're going to be generating through the tax or the fee. This is a priority because we know that low-income communities of color feel the brunt of carbon pollution and energy costs first. We know that climate refugees need a home here in Oregon, and we know that rural coastal communities need infrastructure support. So this money needs to go back to those communities that are at the front lines of this fight. Furthermore, incineration of municipal solid waste should not receive an exemption because it is not a clean energy it's not a clean energy method. Right now in the bill, it's written off as something that produces renewable energy, and we just want to espouse that and say that that is not actually like an acceptable thing for our future and something that we want. The Clean Energy Jobs Bill is legislation that gives me a lot of hope. It gives me hope that for a just transition that centers equity. It gives me hope that the nature I feel so connected to might be preserved for me and my kids and future generations to come. It gives me hope that for a future where we are no longer reliant on fossil fuels. I am fighting for the idea that everyone, including future generations, deserves access to a healthy environment and good-paying jobs in the clean energy sector. And we need new forward-thinking legislation like this bill to make that happen. I'm proud to be a part of the generation that woke up to the reality of climate change and has committed to shape and influence climate policy and lead the just transition to a fossil fuel-free society. Thank you all for being out here today, for the work that you're doing now and going forward, and for continuing to advocate with your representatives, your legislators, reaching out to them, and really ensuring that we get the change that we want to see. Thank you so much.
Next up, we have Audrey Harrington. She's helped train ambassadors for Plant for the Planet, is an ambassador herself, and has participated in several tree plantings, and talked to 5th graders on behalf of Plant for the Planet.
I think I can speak on behalf of everyone when I say that we all know the importance of trees, how they save the environment, and by doing so, let generations of not only humans, but of all life on Earth thrive. They also beautify the world around us and increase our property values. So even if you doubt climate change, I see no reason why you should not plant a tree. Now with CO2 parts per million numbers rising, it is more important than ever to plant trees. Even when we are under our safe max of 350 parts per million, we saw the deadly effects of climate change in rising seas, huge storms, wildfires, and extreme weather of all kinds. Passing 400 parts per million is truly frightening and sends a clear signal that we must act now. With the climate crisis worsening each day, it is continuing to affect adult, teenage, and children's lives. Soon it'll horribly influence future generations. I'm sure that you have all heard of the UN report saying that we need to plant a forest the size of Canada by 2020, or else we'll be unable to reverse climate change. Now it is more important than ever to stand up and make a difference. I've been going to my school for 5 years now. When I started back in 4th grade, the grass was always green, and our wetlands constantly flooded. Now there are dry patches of grass, and the wetlands, especially last year, were regularly dry. It is not a coincidence that each summer we break our annual heat record for Oregon. Our extremes are becoming much more extreme. With this heat, forest fires have been breaking out, in not just Oregon or the United States, but all over the world. The smoke has made it dangerous for young children and the elderly to go outside. And this influenced my life this past year, wanting, just like any other child, to enjoy a day outside, but being stuck indoors due to the choking smoke. Smoke and the heat have been keeping many kids indoors during the summer, interfering with their lives as children. Because for centuries, youth have spent days on end exploring and playing in nature, but now because of climate change, that is threatened. Even if you doubt the health aspect of planting trees, wouldn't you want to look out the window and see a clear view of the beautiful mountains and hills instead of gray, hazy smoke? This is part of the reason I attended the Plant for the Planet Academy in 2017. I did not know what I was getting into, really. I thought it was just a day to learn about the climate crisis and to plant trees. However, while I was at the academy, I soon learned that I would become a climate justice ambassador for Plant for the Planet. We have academies led by kids for kids, training them to take parts in things like this, public speaking, and showing them how they can make a difference. It is important for everyone to get involved in this push to reverse climate change. This is our future. We must do everything we can to save it. I have spoken with some people. They say they're not the type to do it, not the one to get involved. I think everyone can do something to plant for our planet. Most everyone has the capabilities to plant or to water a tree. Many people can write or give speeches about climate change. You could be in or direct a PSA. Organize tree plantings, even if you don't participate. You can have a bake or an art sale. Donate your funds to organizations planting trees. Become more sustainable by reducing your food waste, as it takes emissions to get it to you. So use it all instead of throwing it away and buying more. Buy reusable products. Buy carbon reducers if traveling in an airplane or a gas-powered car. There are many ways to help. You just need to find what you're good at and to contribute to the cause by using your skill. It is time to take action. I can never say that enough. Climate change is not just an upcoming matter. It has already been taking its toll on the earth, our lives, and we must do as much as we can to stop it. Thank you.
That just makes me wish that I had started earlier in middle school. Next up is Rocco Jones. He is a Plant for the Planet ambassador as well, and he has prepared a short rap for you.
Sorry, I didn't realize because I thought it was
Alright, yeah, so I prepared a short verse for you guys. Face back, this ain't gonna be laid back. Earth is heating, we're all stuck in our train track. Win the trial, yeah, we need that. I'm sick and tired, we gotta get moving and quick and get inspired. This is moving slower than I had desired. 21 kids face had a problem, we got delayed. We need aid and a crusade. Come on, judges, time to get swayed. I'm ready to be parade. There's no way you can upbraid. The state of this world is embarrassing. When they lose the trial, it'll be meriting. I wish they would be encouraging us instead of fighting us. All they care about is they don't care about you or me. All they care about is the factories in the oil industry that make them money. Thank you.
That was awesome. Art is a huge part of any activist movement. Next up, we have Pam Vergun. She started the website climatechangerecovery.org and the Youth and Parent Climate Training Program Youth Acting for Our Earth, YAE, to team up with others and get as many people in the U.S. and abroad empowered to try to do all we can to avert as much of the crisis as we can.
There's a story behind that, but yeah, it's like Plant for the Planet, and thank you guys for all talking about what you've been doing. Thank you everybody for coming out today. You've heard some awesome, powerful speeches this morning. This won't be one of those. But I have a request. Give me a big smile at least once before I get off the podium. If just once, preferably when I'm done. Other than that, please respond as you feel. Why am I asking this? Because it's not easy to be a parent in the middle of a crisis. Any crisis. But this is the climate crisis. Now, I'm a pretty easygoing person, basically. I take after my parents that way. But that easygoingness, it's really being tested. My parents, they had it easy. They learned about global warming back in the 80s. But at that point, in the early 80s, it seemed pretty obvious that climate change was totally preventable. I mean, throw your hand in the air if you would trade having electricity for only 3/4 of the day in exchange for not having parts of Portland and Hawaii go underwater. I'm in. seriously underestimated the all-consuming greed of the fossil fuel and manufacturing industry leaders. We just didn't know any better. So what did my parents have to decide when I was little and we wanted to go on a car vacation? It was, shall we go to Shell? Or shall we go to Arco? You know, which has that Dolls of the Week deal, the Dolls of the World deal, where you fill up your tank and you get a doll from somewhere around the world, like the Netherlands, or Ethiopia, or somewhere else. Clearly Arco, right? Yeah, I've never had this nerve to tell that story to all my friends, people young and old from around the world, well, until today, from countries like Haiti and Bangladesh and the Republic of the Marshall Islands, which are in the middle of catastrophic climate change. Oh, and in case you know people who aren't paying attention, yes, even in lush, formerly rainy Oregon, you know, where a teen and his friends can make a dumb mistake with a couple of fireworks, and instead of a few acres burning, so many acres burned that firefighters said they would have to rely on the snow to put out the fire completely. Actually, it was 8 months later, they found it still smoldering. Yeah, that's another way to be unpopular as a parent, saying, I'm not buying fireworks. You know, it's time to hold not only individuals with fireworks accountable, but focus on making corporations and government officials accountable and motivated to change. Agreed? Yeah, so where was I? Oh yeah, when my husband and I are debating what we want to do for our family vacation, it goes kind of like this. Gee, we don't really have money for a vacation because we spend it on a metal roof so we can catch rainwater if or when the glaciers in Oregon stop giving us their water, when we no longer have that water supply. Sorry to tell you all this, but you probably better start saving now for a metal roof before your current one starts leaking. But talk to us before you put your solar panels back up on it, or it'll get ugly. Oh, right, we're talking about vacations. God, sorry, Creator, the universe, or Mother Earth, but I really need a vacation. Okay, continuing on. So I guess, like, Glacier National Park is out, right? Yeah, I would feel bad burning fossil fuels to get there. After all, I have brave friends like Michael Foster who went to jail for trying to stop the despicably dirty tar sands oil from coming into the U.S. Yeah, there's a corporation that wants Americans to create great corporate profits by unwittingly contributing to what climate scientist and very kind person Jim Hansen called game over for the climate. Or, as I like to call it, game over for our future. And I do mean our future, whatever your age. Now, I am grateful to all the folks who made comments about the role of youth, and they are doing a wonderful job. But is it just me, or are you sick and tired of some adults saying to youth, like those who are speaking here today, it's your generation that will save our planet? To me, that majorly sounds like walking out of a restaurant and leaving your young child to pay the bill. That, however, is actually a direct quote from one of my heroes, an elected official who is fighting hard for our future, so he hasn't really given up. It just sounds like he has. Make some noise if you think it's a dumb idea to put that all and only on the shoulders of people, most of whom can't yet vote. Or, people might say, as some of my awesome youth ambassadors and young climate leaders have said today, people who are adults will now be dead when climate change gets really bad. Well, I have bad news for the adults and good news for everyone. First, climate change is already pretty bad pretty much everywhere. Really bad in some places already. We're just trying to not pay attention. And it will be really bad everywhere before long, unless we're really successful at getting large numbers of people to act. The good news is that all generations living now can have some chance of success by acting together, unless we fall into that trap again of saying, well, it'll get solved by that deadline. We can just go about our lives like nothing's happening. Yet, that won't work. And so our job seems to be to get our friends, acquaintances, and everyone else to wake up. How do we do that? Here's a couple ideas. 1, ask yourself what you really need to buy and don't buy things you can do without, and do buy things that reduce your personal impact. 2, thank you. 2, befriend all the elected officials you have time to get to know. Make sure they know your face, your wishes, and your fears. 3, join us for youth and parent climate training. Plan for the Planet, what we're now calling Youth Acting for Earth. It's free, it only lasts a day, and it will get you on a path to making a better future with friends who want to work together on the crisis and have fun while doing it. We have one coming up in about a month. So I'll have information after the rally for you soon. And if you're still wondering about me and vacations, I left it down there. 9 years later, I'm still trying to get back to Disneyland, but I've got the mug. But the great thing about being Jewish, unlike being Methodist as a kid, was we have a whole holiday devoted to camping in your backyard and having friends come over and eat and hang out with you outside. But more about that another day. So I was never a fan of most cartoons and jokes about the climate crisis because what is happening is no joke. But then I heard comedian Mo Amer speak about how comedy was the perfect outlet for his frustration. It was a type of therapy that helps him cope with the injustice of life. And I realized maybe that's one more thing we can do. Shine some light on the craziness of all of us getting duped by a bunch of things and other people's efforts to keep us from acting. So join me in standing up, speaking out, striking like Greta, and marching like MLK and John Lewis, and even cheering and laughing to protect our world and each other. Thank you.
I've always thought that two really important parts of any movement are humor and parents, because parents have a unique empathy and motive to change the world for the better, and humor, everyone kind of needs humor. Next up is Kate Newswanger. Excuse me. She goes to an environmental school. She's involved with Plant for the Planet as well, and the OYLI Youth Lobby Day. She also testified in front of the Joint Committee on Carbon Reduction.
Okay, so like Rocco, I chose to put my speech as a form of art. So I have a poem that I wrote. Okay, it's about water pollution, since that's an important part of the crisis too. Okay, trash floating in our oceans and in our rivers, bringing death and destruction, choking animals that come across them. Pollution everywhere you look. Something floats around that's not supposed to be there. Birds get their heads stuck in six-pack rings. Turtles swallow balloons they mistook for jellyfish. So much stuff floating in the water. It's a sad day when trash becomes more than life. The creatures of this world deserve better than this. Do we stand by and watch them disappear? No way! Children and adults scouring the beaches, looking for trash to pick up before it finds its way to the ocean. Activists wading through rivers and streams, swimming in lakes and oceans, removing what's below and what's floating on the surface. That's what we need to see. Remember, you can make a difference too. You don't have to be important. You don't have to be an adult or even a teenager. If this cause speaks to you, stand up. Make your voice heard. You can make a difference, protecting and advocating for our own Mother Nature.
Another person who makes me wish that I started in middle school. I'm just so impressed with everyone here. Speaking of school activism, our final speaker is Lucy Partridge. Not quite sure where she's at. Oh, she is the president of the South Salem Environmental Club.
Alright, I'm also a little under the weather today, so I apologize for how I sound, but as Claire said, I'm Lucy, and I'm the president of the Environmental Club at South Salem. And as being president of this club, I'm continuously amazed by how many young people and committed students there are working towards a better future for our planet. People have surprised me and given me hope in ways that I never could have imagined. The same people that I wouldn't have guessed in a million years cared about the planet at all. They've showed me search engines that plant trees for every random thought I need to look up, to compostable sandwich bags that I can bring in my lunch to reduce my plastic. I've also seen these same teenagers waking up early on Saturday mornings to go plant trees when I know they were all up way too late the Friday night before. Global climate change is not going to be solved without sacrifice. Maybe it's giving up that daily plastic coffee cup or cutting down those 45-minute showers. While these small sacrifices help, they're not nearly enough. Global warming isn't going anywhere, and it's going to take a much larger effort to solve it. I know that climate change isn't going to be solved by a single person. No matter how hard they work, it just won't be enough. Climate change is going to be solved through a group effort. People that refuse to be silenced. Everyone here has a role. Teachers spreading their scientific knowledge and letting the generations ahead of them know what's going on. Committed young students more involved than ever and planning rallies like this one. People right behind us making laws to plan for a more sustainable future. But these legislators can't do that without your help, continuous support, and involvement. Legislation is so important as it holds companies responsible for their actions and requires them to use more ethically sourced products. It allows carbon emissions in the atmosphere to be reduced and leads to cleaner rivers, more biodiversity, and less harmful chemicals in the air. One of the most important aspects of legislation is that it is community-driven. Without people like us continuously fighting for a change, nothing will ever improve. Younger generations are seen as driving this movement because they're the ones that are going to have to live with the consequences. 2030 was announced as a year of climate change catastrophe, with more heat waves, floods, and food shortages than ever before. It can be overwhelming and dark to focus on facts like this and realize the amount of businesses and politicians who aren't stepping up and doing their job to help. But there is some good that comes from this bad. It leads to a wake-up call for change and a wake-up call for this movement. People opposing environmental legislation want us to feel like we're fighting a battle that can't be won. They want us to feel hopeless and that like nothing will ever change. Don't let them win. The more you continue to educate people on environmental issues, the larger of a difference you're going to make. Many people in my environmental studies class never even cared about the planet until they learned just how bad things have gotten over the past 80 years. Telling somebody one statistic, such as the US only uses 18% of renewable resources, whereas Iceland uses 100%, could change everyone's perspective. If you keep talking about environmental issues and pushing for new legislations, it's impossible for you to be ignored forever. So have passion. One of the biggest things I've had to learn is that not everyone is going to be as motivated as you are, and not everyone's going to want to help. And that's okay. Don't let these people feel that you're fighting a cause that isn't worth it, and don't let them win. If even one person becomes interested and wants to help because of you, you're doing your job and you're making an effort. So continue to make this effort. Call your representatives, post on social media, volunteer, and show up at rallies like this one. You guys are already halfway there by just coming out today. I know I said earlier one person isn't going to solve climate change, and I stand by this. But if you keep using your voice and refuse to be silenced, people will listen and start to pay attention. If just one person joins the cause because of you, you're helping out. As Dr. Seuss once says, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Thank you.
I've said this about 20 times already, but I'm just so grateful for everyone who has spoken today. This is my first rally that I've organized, and I've had an incredible experience.
Can we hear it for Claire?
I'm astounded by the courage and determination shown by each of you. I'm really grateful for the help I've received from people like Linda Walmark and Pamela Vergun and all the people, and of course Emma, my mentor from Climate Justice League. I encourage you guys all to take a pamphlet down there and the other pieces of paper down on that table. We started a project called the Climate Comeback Challenge to encourage community members to get involved with environmental activism. It operates on a task and point-based system. It's in the works, but we really hope it encourages both lifelong activists and concerned citizens to try new things in a climate recovery world. Down there we also have resources from Plant for the Planet, a pamphlet about the movement, a free book about the Paris Climate Accord from Linda Walmark, and documents if you're interested in a climate comeback challenge. If you sign in, you can receive email alerts. And for our project, you can also get the documents, some of the documents for the Climate Comeback Challenge online in a link I've put in the pamphlet. Thank you again for coming. Thank you for speaking out and reaching out. I hope this inspired you all to do something for the climate, because dang, do we need more people, and we need people like you. Thank you.
Amen.
Hey, we'd like to get everybody up here and get a picture with your signs in front of the Capitol. We can post it on the website.
Let's do it.
That'd be great. Thank you.